bringing you the best music from home studios across the world. This is TAETRO Radio.
What's going on, everybody? This is TAETRO with an all-new episode of TAETRO Radio. Welcome back. This is also the first episode of 2018, and it's the first episode of TAETRO Radio that I'm going to be posting on Anchor. So if you're listening over on Anchor, please be sure to let me know. Give it a clap. And if you don't know how to get your music on this podcast, all you need to do is become a part of the TAETRO Facebook community. How you do that is just by sending me a message. So say you're on Twitter, you can @ me at Nick TAETRO and say I want in, and then I send you a link so you get invited into the community, and then you're in. You're a part of this group of home studio musicians from across the world, and it's just a really cool community because it's like-minded people trying to make music at home just like you. Today's episode, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I want to talk to you guys about an issue I had with some copyright infringement this week, and I want to let you guys know about what happened with that. But first, I want to play our first track. It's by DJ Caustic, and it's called Swag Clouds. Let's take a listen. Alright, big shout out to DJ Caustic, who has been on the show before and is always bringing the fire and always constantly improving. What I really loved about this track is that it kept me guessing, but pretty much every 8 bars there was new material or something added to the mix, which was really great. That's really important for me as a composer and as a listener because I want to stay interested throughout the whole track. And with electronic music, it's really easy to just repeat loops over and over again. So just introducing another layer, like adding a hi-hat layer or adding a new lead, something that is just really cool. I was worried about the lull 1 minute in, but there was a really awesome build up and I expected the more like cliche like clap, starts 8th notes, then goes to 16ths, then goes to 32nd notes, but it didn't. You did that with all sound design and it built right up to another drop. That was cool. Really love the vocal samples. I'm a big fan of vocal samples. Make sure you don't overuse them. One thing you can do if you want to use the same sample, and I thought it was really interesting the first few times I heard it, is you can just transpose it down 1 octave. And that gives you enough change and it makes it sound interesting to the listener, but it's pretty much the same material. So that's one way you could add some variation there. If I had to change something about this track, I would add a B section that completely contrasted the rest of the track. I'm hearing a lot of the same chord progression throughout, and while it does have some dynamic range with quiet sections and then full sections, I would make the B section be super sparse with that new chord progression. That would add enough variation to sort of justify this length of song. Because by about 3 minutes and 30 seconds, I feel like I've heard most of the material until 4 minutes in, and then there's some new material there that is kind of based off the same material we've heard, but it's enough variation to keep me interested. I wish that had come in a little sooner, and I wish there was that B section in there to really justify that full length. Overall, really love this track. I think it's like super commercial, and I mean that as a total compliment. I could totally see like BMW or Lexus having this spliced in with their B-roll of their cars flying up and down a racetrack or something like that. Really dope track, DJ Caustic. Thank you for submitting. Alright, this next track is by Axe and it's called Hole. Stay tuned for after this track, after my review, and I'm gonna talk about my copyright infringement issue that I can't even believe happened. Alright, enjoy the track. Alright, that was Hole by Axe, and this track reminds me of like a Bourne Identity movie that takes place in the world of Sonic the Hedgehog. And I totally mean that as a compliment. It reminds me of like action, and then also like it has an otherworldly vibe to it, like a machine world type vibe, almost like Matrixy. Here's the thing about house music, and it's the reason that I don't listen to a lot of house music. It's because it's very repetitive, it's very four to the floor, and that's okay. Like, I like listening to house music sometimes, and it has its time and place, especially if someone needs to focus or concentrate, or if you're in the club and you're dancing and you want to forget about everything. So I'm not gonna hold anything that has to do with house against this track. But what I will say is by 3 minutes in, I was looking for something new, something contrasting, something else to listen to and latch onto. But at 4 minutes 30 seconds, the strong backbeat like really had me in. So if it's even something like strengthening the groove that you already have going, like I think that could go a long way. Another way that I think you could add slight variation without adding too much more material is by taking some of those lead synths, and especially those stabs, and making them dirtier. So either adding like an overdrive, a distortion, a redux, just over time, just messing with that. Like maybe use a MIDI controller and a knob and sort of just kind of crank it over time in the song, crank it up, crank it down, just to give it that other dimension of variation. I think that would be really cool. Overall, I enjoyed this track even though I'm not a big fan of house music. Like I said, that vibe that I caught right away was enough to keep me interested through the whole thing. Really loved it, really deep sound. Great work by Axe. Alright, while this track sort of plays out in the background, I just want to talk about the issue I had with copyright infringement this week, and it's never happened to me before, and it could be happening all the time for all I know. But what happened was I woke up on something like Tuesday or Wednesday this week to being tagged in an Instagram comment on a photo on another page. Now, I'm not going to name the page because I don't want to give them any additional publicity, but basically it's a page of a pretty well-known source of like buying loops and sounds and sound packs. Pretty famous company. They had more Instagram followers than me, like 8 times as many Instagram followers as me. And there's a photo of my apartment that's taken directly from my Instagram page. And the caption is, "This is where the chill music happens," or something like that. And I'm not tagged in it at all, except for this comment. So shout out to TAETRO community member Shayla Pena. I really appreciate you letting me know that this was there. What was super like egregious about it to me, and like I don't mind, like my photos have been shared on other Instagram pages before, but what always happens is I get tagged, and that's super helpful, especially when the page has way more followers than me, because people come check out my page and then they follow me, and you know, it works out that way. In this case, there was no attempt to tag or anything, and it was to the point where even though I wasn't tagged in the photo, there was a tag in the photo, and it was a shopping link to their website. So they were using my photo to sell their products. To put the nail in the coffin for me, there was a comment on this photo that said, "Where can I hear the music that's made here in this space? I bet it sounds really dope." And the page commented back, they replied to this comment and said, "Head to our website and download our loops to make some dope music like the music that's made here." Which was even more infuriating because they were making no attempt to answer their customer's question, and they were literally just trying to sell their sound packs and loop packs. Now, what I did was I went ahead and sent them a DM and said, "Hey, I saw my photo was there. Would it be possible to just get a tag or get some credit?" I sent a DM and I sent a comment because I noticed that they had been replying to comments. And I got no answer. And this was pretty frustrating. Then I started to look at the rest of the photos on their page, and it seemed like either if their photos weren't directly from their website, like selling their products, then their photos were taken from other artists on the internet and posted with no credit. The only credited artist I could find was an artist that they were working directly with their website. Pretty infuriating. So I looked up what I could do about this, and Instagram actually has like a copyright infringement claim form you can fill out. And I went ahead and did that, and it was pretty simple. I just had to link them to the page, link them to my page, show my original content versus the content they posted. And within 24 hours, I would say, of me filing that claim, Instagram had taken down the post and sent them a notification that the post had been taken down because of copyright infringement. At this point, I got an email from the company saying, hey, sorry that this happened. We try to credit all artists. We apologize for the inconvenience. And I just emailed them back and said, hey, like, I looked at your page and you don't have any credited artists anywhere. And you were basically misleading your customers who were asking about my music, and you were directing them to your page to download your products. So, like, I wasn't really hearing any sort of apology. But they were very apologetic. They claimed that they were only 2 people and that they couldn't really keep up with the DMs, and that's why they didn't answer me, that sort of thing. But I don't know. I've never had to deal with that before, and it just kind of put me in a bad mood this week. So what do you think? Like, should I have been upset? Like, I'm totally fine with people sharing my stuff. I share other people's stuff. Like, I have Tumblr, I have Pinterest, I get it. But, like, you always have to credit the person, especially, like, if I have more followers than somebody, if I'm going to share your stuff, that means I want to put you on. I want other people to go to your page and see it. That's why I do this podcast, so that people will hear lesser known artists' work and be linked to their pages. I don't know. That's just my take. Let me know what you think. But on that note of doing the podcast and sharing other people's work, let's play our final track this week. It is called Explore by Rins. Let's check it out. Yeah, usually I don't let tracks like play out like that. I usually talk over the ending of tracks, but I want to talk about that ending in a bit. If I had to give some words for this track to describe it, I would say mystical, ethereal, ocean-like. Like, I really loved it. Like, I'm just seeing the color blue, I'm seeing swimming, I'm seeing being underwater. That's the visualization that comes to mind, and that totally fits the title of Explore to me. Really awesome. More vocal samples in this track. I know I talk about this all the time, but I love vocal samples, and I think they're really, really well done. They're super clean in this track. The organic percussion hits that are against the super clean synths, that's something I'm also a big fan of in synthetic music, electronic music. We can get really caught up in sounds that are created by machines, but once you mix that with like real world sounds, especially percussion sounds, it takes it to another level. It connects the electronic to the organic, and I think that's really important. It humanizes it. The child voice sample, that was like another unique way of adding to the dreamy nature of the song. Make sure you make enough space for things like that. Like, I felt like the hi-hat was a little bit overbearing and a little bit cutting into the child's voice, but I get that it's a little bit like shoegaze, which is a genre where the vocals are sort of buried in the background. Like, I got that sort of vibe when those vocals came in, when the voice sample came in, I should say. And it was cool, but I would just make a little bit more room for it. Like, let that be the focus for at least a minute. And I would have loved to hear that child's voice come back at the end. I think that would have been a super cool way to finish out. I just wanted a little bit more, like, or you could have taken the voice and sampled it somehow. Like, I don't know, maybe something there. That's just my take. The ending, let's talk about that ending, because I think it was brilliant. And I mean, it's just a few seconds, it's just a small portion, but the tempo slowdown with the fading reverb was really beautiful. And again, with electronic music, we're set to time, we're set to a rigid grid most of the time, and not enough people play with that. So I really appreciated the slowdown in tempo, and that's something, at least in live, that's really easy to do. On the master channel, you just automate the tempo parameter and you're good to go. But really cool way to end your track, and it really surprised me, because you don't hear people play with tempo like that in a fluid way, at least. Really awesome. I would love to hear more producers do more with the tempo automation. Really great track, Emrins. That was Explore. Make sure you go listen to all of the artist's tracks down in the description below. And if you haven't yet, please become a member of the TAETRO Facebook community. At me over on Twitter, at NickTAETRO, and say, I want in. I'll shoot you a link, and you can become a part of the community. There's more challenges, more exclusive content coming to that community soon. I've just been super bogged down with work and things like that to keep up. But as you can see, the podcast is up this month, so I wanted to make sure we get more regular episodes out so we can get to your music heard. If you're not yet, please make sure to subscribe over at youtube.com/TAETRO, and you can also find me on all my other social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you know the drill. Anyway, this has been TAETRO. Thanks so much for listening. Have a good one.
Homegrown music from the TAETRO community exclusively on TAETRO Radio.